foremost, welcome to the 2024 CNC Connect Conference. It's been 5 years since our last conference, and it's great to see everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Court Fowler, President of CNC, and again, I'm happy everybody's here.
Hey everybody, Murphy Buggs here with CNC. I'm the Property Training Manager. We're here at CNC Connect 2024. We've had some great guests. We've had some breakout sessions on the flood and the property side, getting ready to start our general sessions this afternoon. So we're really looking forward to that. There's been a lot of CE credits that's been offered and great exhibitors with great vendors that we've partnered with for this conference and in future endeavors throughout our claims handling process.
Hi, my name is Craig Kepner. I'm a new independent adjuster. It's been a fantastic experience. Really, the sponsors, the leadership here, the knowledge that I've been able to pick up, but then really especially really connecting with the other new adjusters.
The speakers have been fantastic. We got a chance to see a lot of people that we would never see, from the insurance commissioner of Alabama, to Hal, the weather guy.
The favorite part, well, it has to be, getting to see everybody. I know with COVID, there weren't very many opportunities, and I love to make new friends and see some of the faces behind those phone calls that I've been having here for about the last year or so.
The conference was awesome. It was well put together, very well organized, and the conference would mean nothing without the people. So the people that were here were awesome as well. All of the classes were very informative. It was easy flow from one classroom to the next, and the information that we got was very pertinent to what we do every day.
So the CNC Connect really, brought everybody together. Just like Mr. Fowler said, it's about connect. And the connection that we made at this conference is really going to go beyond this past 3 days.
We just wrapped up day 3 of our conference, CNC Connect 2024. We had a fantastic conference. Today was our certification day where we did a lot of carrier-specific certifications. It went great, went fantastic. Want to do a big thank you to all of our sponsors, obviously all of our attendees, everybody that made this possible. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms as you look to stay connected with us throughout 2024.
I've worked with CNC since 2008 at Hurricane Ike. I've done, I believe, 7 or 8 hurricane deployments with them. My experience with CNC has been nothing short of amazing. Anytime CNC asks me if I'm available, I always say yes. They are my #1 choice anytime I'm going to be deploying for a major event. They are trustworthy. I love working with them.
I've been working on Hurricane Ian flood claims for the last 6 days. This is my first year working for CNC, and it's been a great experience. I've had so much support and so much training through so many different people at the company. If there's one person who can't help me right away, they'll get me to somebody who can, and that's been the main reason why I've wanted to stick with CNC this year, is because of the amount of support that they've provided, and they're really helping me excel.
When I think back to where we started, there's one thing that still is a thread in the lining from where we were, where we started till now, and look at that as family-run business. The family values, the goal to respect everybody as individuals, treat everybody as family.
It's just how much people love to work here and love being here, and the commitment that they have to each other and the commitment they have to the company. I can't say that you found that in all places. I'm sure you do find it at some places, but man, we've got people that work here 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning deploying people. They never complain. They never ask for anything special. I think that's definitely a great example of an aha moment that people really do love being here, and they love what they do. And when you have that type of team, then to me, you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish as a team.
The minute you walk in the door, you're gonna feel welcomed. You're going to see a smile on people's faces, and you're going to feel like you're home. I have for 17 years now. I have had that feeling from day one, and I still have that feeling.
It's the family atmosphere. I mean, you're going to hear that from everybody that's here. It's the family atmosphere. It's being a part of something, and having the opportunity to grow. It's all about what you want to put into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 5 of Claims Corner, Episode 7. This is Part 2 of our Lighted Up episode, where we basically just lit things on fire with the fire department and an engineering firm and fire experts out there. It was a lot of fun. Again, so Part 2. Part 1 was 2 weeks ago. If you missed that, you can go to our official YouTube channel, CNC Catastrophe and National Claims. Give that a watch. It was a really good episode. This one is obviously very good as well. That's why we split it into two. Couldn't squeeze it all into one episode. So if you've missed any of our previous content, go back, give it a watch. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like it, hit the bell icon so you get notified anytime we go live and or post new content. So we look forward to obviously showing you this episode. But before we get into it, we do have some introductions. My name is Murphy, Property Training Manager here at CNC. With us here in the booth is Mary Berry, also in our Property Training Department. If you've watched Claims Corner, you've seen her before, and Julie as well. Again, if you've had anything to do with our training department, you know who Julie Ward is. So we're super glad she's here too. Also joining us remotely is another person in our property training department. If you've taken any type of training with CNC on the property side, you've at least seen his face, heard his voice, Rusty Garrett. So Rusty, thanks for joining us too.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Two more people. Craig Fowler is also joining remotely. Craig, you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't make it in there, but now that I'm glad I could not make it in there today, I don't know where I would have sat. So I guess that's good. And then when I came on, I was like, do I really need to be here? Because I mean, look at all the experts on here. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna provide any value except maybe some comedy and entertainment. But the experts on this subject are right here, right now, and they're like, Emma, I'll go ahead and just maybe take a vacation or something. So yeah.
There you go. And then last but not least, our most special guest today is Irvin from SDII. Irvin, do you want to give your little quick bio?
Yeah, I was a fireman for 20 years. Then 20 years after that, when I retired, I started doing the fire investigation, and I've done that for like 20 years. I also got my mechanical engineering degree from USF, so I work as a forensic analyst with the firm also.
Awesome. Yeah, if you watch part one, we had Mike Grubowski on. Obviously, he's the one you see in the video. Irvin is subbing in for him today. Excellent resource, obviously. A lot of experience as well, as you just heard. So a couple things before we jump into today's episode. First thing is training classes are ongoing, coming up. We had a mic fall down. We're live, so we're going to keep on going. But we do have training classes coming up. If you will visit adjustingexpectations.com. You'll be able to see a button there or a tab where you can go to classes and education and be able to see all of our upcoming classes there. The big thing is you have to be on our roster. That's easy to do. You can fill out an application on adjustingexpectations.com in order to take care of that part. There are some requirements for these classes, though. So they're not public classes. They are private classes. So you do have to meet some requirements in order to become eligible to take these classes. So just, hit the show more on the description, give those a read. It'll also tell you how to sign up. So again, a lot of exciting classes coming up that we are really happy to put on and get people involved in. Second thing is, go ahead. Sorry,
Can
Craig.
I throw something in there, Murphy? I apologize. You're hitting that second thing, and then I'm gonna just throw something in there about the continuing education and CNC Pro and all that stuff. If you haven't paid attention to the weather this year, what's happening, what's predicted, then you need to climb out from underneath the rock. But prepping now is a major piece of what you should be doing in the off season. We as we talk about it in kind of the off season, in a sense, dominate the off season, learn, take new programs, learn new things, mess with your software, get out there and test your systems, make sure you're ready, because I mean, everybody that I've spoken with, from the weather side into the claims side, into meteorologists, and also in the insurance industry, all are really, really concerned about this year and this hurricane season specifically. And if you're not testing yourself now, how well you're going to do, if you're not taking these classes on CNC Pro and now actually out there taking advantage of our face-to-face training and our webinars, you're going to get left behind. And then you're going to look back and say, best year ever, could have done really well, but I just didn't take advantage of what I was being told to do early on. So, number two, sorry, Murphy.
No, and that goes into no, you're good. And that goes into that kind of adjuster preparedness, right? Being storm and season ready, because I mean it's coming. It'll be here before you know it. The second thing is too, we mentioned this on part 1 2 weeks ago, but we want to highlight it again because it is still ongoing. Our customer service learning plan is active between April 18th and May the 16th. If you enter into that plan, you take the classes and complete them, you will be entered into a prize drawing. You'll have a chance to win like a CNC Yeti Cup. We've got some other items in the drawing as well, and we will actually draw and announce the winners live on May the 30th, which will be 2 episodes from now. Obviously, we'll have another one, I believe, on the 16th, 16th, and then the one on the 30th that we do, we will actually announce the winners live. So the learning plan includes Things like adjuster customer service, upset policyholders, active empathetic listening, how to communicate bad news effectively, all those things. So somebody from our team is going to drop that link in the chat, so it will be able to direct you there to get enrolled into that learning plan. Little different format today as well. Typically, we do our IYOW, our In Your Own Words segment, in the middle. We're going to let the video play straight through today and do our IYOW at the end with Irvin. So I don't want you to think you missed it. I know a lot of people look forward to that segment. So that will be at the end, right before our Q&A. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. So full disclaimer, do not do anything we have done at your house or anyone else's. Please. We did this on, I'm just saying, we did this on my property with my permission, but we did have the Tanner Williams Volunteer Fire Department out there, and we had experts in the field all around to help us. So we were not doing it just willy-nilly. We actually had it planned out and staged and all that. So do not try anything we did at home.
Bingo.
So I can't go out to my neighbor's house and try this.
No, don't try it at your neighbor's house.
Okay.
Especially your
And-
in-laws. Don't go to their house and do it either.
Yeah, and I guess when we see the video, most of our watchers will understand why. Because even, I mean, when we were recording this, we had people around us ready to control this thing. You were still kind of backing up like, okay, this could be bad. And I could see in a house fire, a grease fire, why people overreact, or I shouldn't say overreact. I guess you do. It's just, it takes you by surprise almost. Just all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, you're doing one thing, you turn around, your whole kitchen's on fire.
Absolutely.
And it happens quick. Yeah.
All right, good deal. So good tease there from everybody. Let's go ahead and jump into the episode today. Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of our controlled burn. Last week, if you watched, we did some fire accelerants on pieces of carpet. We talked about fire safety with our folks from SDII and the Tanner Williams Local Fire Department that we were super thankful for. This week, we're going to go into more burning actual building items, such as drywall, this chair with a candle fire, table, drapes, things of that nature. So we're going to go ahead and jump into part 2 now.
Hi, this is Mike Grubowski with SDII Global, back with you for week 2 of burning some combustibles, some ordinary combustibles, to show how things burn in a house fire. We've got a candle set up that we're going to use to ignite the curtains and the couch and the rug below, and hopefully capture some nice fire patterns on the drywall sides. And after we get through looking at it, we'll explain what happened.
All right, so this is a common, we commonly hear as a candle of all things. People don't think about a candle and the fact that it is an open flame, and they just sometimes leave their candles unattended. And when it gets around a flammable drape or even a rug in some situations, can cause a combustion, cause this actually to burn up. It's just kind of a common thing besides grease fires and other common elements that you hear about. But what we're going to do here is we're actually going to light this up and hopefully get a fire going.
Obviously, we tried to simulate a little room fire with a chair and a table and a candle and a curtain. Since we actually know what happened, it won't be anything to investigate really, but if you want to go back in it, if you were walking into this blind, what would you start looking at? First, the thing is probably the chair, since it's the most badly damaged area, the table, and the fire pattern on the drywall behind. You'd have to dig this out even though there's only a couple items, which means pulling stuff out, photographing as you go, and looking at the damage. There's the leg. It's charred more up there where it burned away from the table. And if you didn't know it was a candle fire, you'd find that. You know, and you would ask your insured, obviously, what they were doing before the fire occurred. And they said, well, I was sitting there with a candle going, reading a book or whatever, and I got up. The candle has actually been burned.
I think the biggest thing is, too, you can see how a simple candle fire can ignite everything around it.
Yeah,
if you leave it from the drapes to the table to the chair to the drywall, one small item can cause so much damage.
We only let it burn for what, 10 minutes maybe? Maybe max. So this is clean under here. I would start by trying to do that.
Yep.
And
And
see there's
recreate the scene, yeah.
In order to recreate the fire scene, you would probably see the circular pattern on top of the table. That's obviously where the candle was before the fire.
Yeah.
Lines it pretty nicely. Here's some wax from the floor. If you pull the chair away, you're going to want to look at the chair. And the things to note about looking at the chair is the damage on this side versus this side. This side's still got some intact fiber. It's all gone over here. The charring on the arm lines up to the charring on the table. So your point of origin is, you can start quickly establishing your area of origin, maybe not specific point, but right here. Left side as we're looking at it, this is where the fire originated. Table, chair.
Are there some questions that maybe the inspector that comes out before, like the field adjuster, that can assist before you come out and do your investigation?
Sure, you should ask who was home, what were you doing, time, date, who called the fire department, same questions that we spoke about a little earlier, but specifically, did you light a candle, when did you light it, how long was it burning for? You obviously weren't sitting there. Did you get hurt? If he says no, well, you know he wasn't sitting there, because there's no way you could sit there and get through that, he or she. Then ask him what they were doing, and step by step.
Should they obtain any reports before you come out, maybe from the fire department?
They can get the incident number from the fire department so we can get the report. Or they can get the report themselves. Sometimes when you task insureds with getting reports, you get incomplete reports. You know, because they don't want us to know that they were smoking a cigarette or in bed or whatever. They'll take the page out with the narrative from the fire department.
Okay.
So I'll get it myself
So
from the
getting
fire.
that number would actually get you the correct
I'd like to,
information.
sometimes I just like to get it myself in order to avoid any ambiguity with people. But if they're willing to go down and get it, it saves time.
So tell us about this burn pattern here. What are you seeing as a result of this? Because a lot of times they're thinking grease fires and things like that. You see a smaller burn pattern that spreads out, but this seems to be just one large mass. What does that kind of tell you?
Yeah, it's kind of a U. It kind of U's right here. It comes down, and then it goes like this, and then it comes back up. And the whole back of the chair is gone, obviously. So the fire in the back of the chair lines up with here.
Mm-hmm.
Burned for a while because it burned the paper off. This is the paper on the drywall. And then it's a little bit calcinated here from the heat, not much. When this stuff burns, this polyurethane, it's all sticky. It's a synthetic material. It's petroleum based, so it's like you get similar patterns on the floor, like we did when we had our accelerants. You have to be able to differentiate what's from the foam burning and falling and what somebody may have poured on there. I wouldn't, if I found a chair like this, I would expect to find that kind of damage on the floor. Because as it burned and as we watched it burn, it was dropping onto the floor. and then it eventually ignited the rug, and then it eventually ignited the underside of the table, which you should look at as well.
That's interesting, that pattern on top. You still have that. You would think this would burn up pretty quickly, but we still have an evident pattern where that candle was sitting.
Yeah, and
and results from there. But we know the candle's the cause of it, but obviously it had to go somewhere to like ignite that, which then dropped down, which caused the rest of it to ignite
this
up.
is how you can tell where the table was. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Nice.
So you could put the table back in its pre-fire position.
And as we talked about earlier, with the fire-resistant material, this is a piece of fire-resistant drywall. But obviously, it's heavily damaged. So, I mean, an adjuster, this is obviously being replaced along with everything else, but no material is fireproof. It's just fire-resistant to a point. You get a hot enough flame, you get a hot enough, it's gonna char. It's gonna cause damage to it.
Yeah, it's 5/8 drywall, I think is 1 hour rated drywall, so it should withstand a fire for up to an hour. It doesn't normally last that long.
I think as an adjuster too, you look at the fire damage, the smoke damage, but then how did they put the fire out? What's the water damage beyond that too? I mean, granted, we did it with a fire hose. If you got an extinguisher, even that causes more damage other than just the fire and the smoke itself. The other damage that's outside of that for whenever you got ready to put it out too.
That's from Firestream.
Okay.
That's where you hit it with the nozzle when it went through the back of the chair.
And obviously the splatter from the water, just the ash and...
Yeah, water goes everywhere when you...
Yeah.
So we assume that that caused it, right? The candle. Is there a way that would say they probably enhanced the fire from that? Meaning, are we going to test any of this to... what if they threw in some
gasoline? If I went to somebody's house and I got in their house and I find out that, you know, all their photos of Granny from World War II from 1940 are hanging on the wall, their firearms are in there, their family albums are in there, photos, stuff you wouldn't want burned. And they said, yeah, Mike, I was sitting there, I lit a candle, I was reading a book, I got up to answer the phone, forgot about it. I'm probably going to say 99%.
Accidental, yeah.
It's an accidental
Yeah.
fire. Now, if the house is bare and there's no furniture in there and it's for sale and they got a closing next week and they owe the bank $5 million,
Raises more questions.
then I'm probably going to take samples and see what I can. You know, but everybody's upside down in their house in this world today, unfortunately.
So are you dependent on an adjuster? Not dependent on, but is it preferable for an adjuster when they get out to try to recreate the scenes themselves? Or should they wait on an expert like you and just document photos and like recorded statements, things like that?
I would photograph everything.
Right.
I mean,
But
I
should
would
they
even,
go-
especially, I wouldn't even go into a house without going around outside first.
Right.
I'd
Okay.
look at the damage outside and see if there's any fire patterns.
Right.
And as I'm doing that, I'm looking at the utilities. I'm looking at where the electric comes in, where the gas comes in, water, everything, and I'm documenting all that.
Right.
Then I'll go in
Right.
and I'll start looking at fire damage.
I think as an adjuster too, there's always some, there's some stress, I guess, with dealing with fire damage that's as extensive as what we see here. And a lot of times adjusters don't want to touch anything, or maybe they do want to touch it and start moving things around. What's their best course of action? To leave it as is or try to recreate it as best as possible and gather their own observations? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you could take notes and gather your own observations. I pulled it away, but I could easily put it back where it was before the fire because it's
Right.
marked on the floor where the legs were.
Right.
So if you want to pull it away and look at it and put it back when you're through, and you're going to leave me that,
Okay.
that's probably sufficient.
Okay.
And you're going to ask them what they were doing.
Is there anything an adjuster should avoid prior to you coming out? When
I
they're
mean,
doing
I
their
wouldn't-
inspection?
I wouldn't let the restoration guys in there.
Right.
Okay.
Or don't throw anything away.
Definitely don't throw
leave all the
anything away.
evidence there.
Now,
Yeah.
like, say you got a, I don't know, a guy buys a lamp at Walmart,
Mhm.
and he tells you, I bought the lamp last week, and it was flickering for 3 weeks since I just bought it, and I don't think it was right, and I think it started the fire. Well, obviously, don't let the restoration guy take the lamp, because there
Right.
goes your subrogation case.
Exactly.
If the lamp did start the fire, we got to be able to collect it and take it back to the lab and
Right.
figure it out. and then you might have a subrogation case. But once people start moving things, kind of makes it difficult to collect.
Right. I think initially what policyholders think too is I want to get this old damaged stuff.
Oh, they'll throw
out.
stuff out
You know,
before
they
it.
want to get rid of it, and I think as adjusters on the front end, when they contact us to file a claim, that's on the responsibility of us to let them know, like any other claim, wind, water, what have you. Don't throw anything away. Keep everything intact as much as possible. I mean, worst case scenario, they keep samples, right? If something had to go out, but I think the biggest thing for us as adjusters to let the policyholder know is leave it as is, because that's the way we can get the best investigation, lab testing, and then determine is there going to be coverage, is there not, based on negligence or an accidental fire.
That's true. Yeah, and I've worked with one company that has a blanket statement that they read every time there's a fire to the insured. Don't touch anything. Don't go in the house.
Right.
Don't move anything. Don't let anyone else in there. Secure the doors and windows best you can.
Right.
I mean, everybody in Florida's got hurricane shutters. They tell them if you got shutters, put them up.
Right. Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Just like you said, they'll throw it all out before you get there.
Right.
If you let them.
I have a two-part question for you, really, and this might be for the fire department as well, but I see that this material that we put out here is still smoking and smoldering. How often do you see secondary fires that pop up due to a fire not being properly extinguished? And then for the fire department, what steps do y'all take to make sure that the fire is completely out and it doesn't catch up again?
We do what we call an overhaul after we potentially put the fire out most of the time, and it may make y'all's job worse, because if that thing's going to keep smoldering like that, usually we're going to pick it up and take it out of the house. That way we don't have a rekindle, reignite.
Yeah, I stopped him early because I wanted to still have something to look at. But if I were on a nozzle, you're already here as a firefighter. You better put it out, because the last thing you want to do is come back.
Right.
And like you said, it's either going out a window and you'll find it in the yard under 2 foot of water because they put it out the right way, or whatever. But they're not going to leave. Anyone who knows what they're doing isn't going to leave that, because you'll be coming back. It's still burning under there.
Right.
And if you get to other places, certain cities that, where I work, you'll find everything in the yard. And then you'll spend, an adjuster will say, well, it says on your thing you were there for 6 hours. Well, if you want me to dig it all back out of the yard and drag it all back into the house and try and put it back together and figure out what happened,
that's how long it's going to take.
That's how long it's going to take.
Yep.
Right.
I'm not going to do it in 5 minutes.
So for those larger fires where they remove everything, that makes it a lot more difficult to recreate the scene.
Then you're going back and you're trying to find the marks on the floor where it was. You might find that, and you might find 4 more that are less damaged. Then you're going to have to figure out which one was in the living room and which 4 were in the other room down the hallway. And you may not always be able to do it, but you're certainly going to try and recreate what the fire looked like before it started. Like, I'm surprised this isn't more badly damaged, that we actually found any. But because usually when people leave them burning and they walk away from them, they burn down. The glass cracks, and then the wax spills out, gets ignited.
So when you have those, intense fires like this where everything's been drug out, it's hard to recreate the scene. Is there any other alternative methods that you use? Maybe neighbors, Ring doorbell footage, things like that you try to gather to recreate what happened?
Absolutely. I mean, there's one of the first things I ever look at going up to a fire scene is video.
Right.
Everybody's got cameras on their house now. They got Ring doorbells. So I'm always trying to get video footage of events. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. It's rare to find interior footage, video footage in people's homes, because, nobody wants to show anybody walking around in your PJs at night or whatever. So it's hard to find, but you can find outside video. And certainly people have been caught lighting fire, coming out of the house with 2 55-gallon cans of gas.
Right.
It's happened before, people getting caught, by a neighbor's ring or a camera on a pole somewhere. So yeah, video's important. Just witness statements. People, there's a million questions to ask an insured. you might only get to the surface. Basically, you want to lock them into some kind of statement before anyone else gets there. You know, if they say, oh, I wasn't sitting there smoking a cigarette with a candle lit, you know, then you know that's not true.
Right.
Based on the amount of damage.
Is there anything as a fire investigator that you go out to in a situation like this that you know should not be damaged? A look behind the curtain. We talked about it a little bit earlier off camera, but like the oak feet on the chair, like things that you know should not be damaged, and if they are in fact damaged, you start to question maybe was this a fire that was done on purpose, things like that.
Sure, I mean unless you can rule it out,
right?
It's always a potential fire cause that
Right.
somebody set the place on fire.
Right.
You know, but if you come and you find an ashtray and some cigarettes and you know all the possessions are in the house and the guy says, yeah, I smoke a lot, then it's kind of safe to assume
One leads to the next, right?
Yeah, unless you know there's that damage is consistent with the chair burning.
Right.
It's not consistent with 5 gallons of gasoline being poured on the chair and lit
Right.
off. Then it would be up through the roof of the house, and then you'd be like, well, wow, that's 45-minute rated drywall. How did it get through the roof before the chair even got burned?
Yeah.
Then you'd be like, that would be suspicious.
Yeah, then you start to question things.
Then I would start taking samples at ground level.
All right, we're here to talk about this grease fire, and to talk about this grease fire, I got Murphy Buggs here. He's going to talk about this grease fire and what we're going to do with this grease fire. Go ahead, Murphy.
Yeah, so we're trying to recreate a kitchen scene here, kitchen cabinets, drywall, obviously our pan with hot oil in it, which it will be hot shortly once we go ahead and turn the gas on. So again, just trying to simulate the #1 cause of kitchen fires, which is in fact a grease fire itself. So. Just want to be very clear as well, do not try this at home.
All right, so 2 fantastic demonstrations there of, something minor, like a candle fire, and then something that, might seem minor because people do it all the time, but it ends up being, a major type of a fire when we talk about grease fire. So really good demonstration there of both. Obviously, again, the disclaimer was shown during the video. We're going to say that again, please don't try this at home. This was in a very controlled type of environment with the fire department on site, and they stepped in when needed. So, Craig, did you have something to say on that?
Well, you say, please do not try this at home, but a lot of people do it at home because they don't pay attention.
That's true.
They leave a flame unattended. They leave some grease on a stove unattended, which causes the fire.
Yeah.
Basically.
It happens.
So you got to pay attention to these things. I mean, I know people are busy and running back and forth, and I want to go cook some fried chicken on my skillet, and I get a phone call, and I have to jump on Claims Corner, and then I leave the chicken.
Yep.
And then the whole house burns down. And then it's episode number 3.
Yeah, that's true.
Just pay attention. It's part of fire safety in a sense.
And
then we've talked about this in episode 1. I'll throw this out. Having a fire extinguisher on hand, knowing how to use it, having smoke detectors in your house, making sure the batteries are tested, and then and probably a good one, which I think Julia can throw this on there later on, is learning who is at the volunteer fire department if it's a volunteer fire department in the area, so that you can become really good friends with them. You never know who you meet them. Because Wade, if I ever have a fire, like I told him, I'm going to ask him to come over and show me how to use a fire extinguisher.
Yeah. That's true.
All right, sorry.
No, that's a good point too. And we were actually talking off air before the episode even started today. We were talking with Irvin from SDII, who again is joining us today. He actually just had a fire investigation. Yes. Can we revisit that and we can tell our audience about that, Irvin?
You're on mute.
Yep. Oh, I think
all righty.
There he is.
So, yeah, this lady, she was going to fry chicken. And so she put she put a deep fryer. Actually, it wasn't a skillet. It was like a pot full of oil. So it was a little bit more than just a skillet. And she turned the range on. So she said between 6 and 7, which is halfway. She stepped outside for like a minute, and she just heard an explosion. She turned back around, and the whole area above the range, microwave cabinets were all on fire. So eventually, it was extinguished by the fire department. And so the particular insurance company called us to inspect it because the range was supposed to have been a rental. So she was actually a rent to own. And so they're making the assumption that it probably was used and maybe it had some issues with it. So they sent me out and I was able to inspect the range, and everything looked exactly like she said. She had the pot there. She left the pot how it was. All the fire debris was on the counter. And so it looked exactly like what she said. But the problem is that sometimes people say stuff and you don't know for sure. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this could be a subrogation case, where you can go after either the manufacturer or the rental company. In this, so therefore, I had to make absolutely sure that was an accident, because I don't want the insurance company to lose out, and I don't want the insured to be blamed or somebody else be blamed.
Right.
So what I needed to do is I needed to find out exactly what position that switch was in when she walked away from the range. So essentially, I had to disassemble the upper portion with 4 switches in it, and then I had to individually disassemble each switch, and I needed to do 3 of them because 2 were on the right side, and got really, really burned, and I had to get one on the other side, which was not as severely burned, so I could compare them. And I found, after disassembling them, looking at them, putting them side by side, that she actually had the switch for the front element. It was on high, so it wasn't on 6 or 7 like she said. It was on high. So that pretty much, gives it up as far as, the fire.
Right.
So how often do you see where it is, let's just call it the homeowner, the consumer, it's their error versus a mechanical or equipment defect? Is there a percentage you see that's one or higher than the other?
Well, right now it's there's issues because in certain areas like down south of in Miami area down there, there's a lot of people that start fires on the range because it's very difficult to determine if it was an accident or if there was something wrong with the range. So it is very difficult when you go down, and it's like Mike said, if you have all of your important stuff in there, your bed stuff, your kids' toys and stuff like that, well, it probably was an accident. If all that is taken out, then you might be concerned that maybe it was deliberate. There's also issues of there's recalls on some ranges and some gas stoves where you can actually bump the knob, which would be on the front of the range, and that could turn it on, and it could turn it on high. And so there were recalls and some of those also.
Yeah, I have one of those. I have one of those. You just lean back into it, and it's like whatever's on the stove catches on fire. And you're like, oh, I forgot about that again. So
and I just want to add that I just wanted to say that the situation that he just explained, it really solidifies the need for an expert, because an adjuster going out there could not determine if what the insurer said was the actual cause. He actually had to open it up, go in, get the switches to determine that it was on high versus what the insurer said.
Right.
So that just, for me, on the adjuster side, shows the need for having experts to go out and determine the cause of loss and, get the facts so we can properly adjust for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's a full-on investigation, what he did.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just taking photos. Right.
I find it interesting that you can go to that level to determine those things. A lot of people don't think about that.
Right.
So when you are south of, I won't even go there, but yeah, but you kind of, you don't realize that the investigation that goes into it, the experts that there is going to be you're going to find a pattern like we saw in the accelerants. You're going to see something out of the ordinary that's going to alert to, hey, this might have been intentional. And then we obviously get a situation like this where you can go, you're just not looking at the stove, you're going into the mechanics of it to see what took place of that during that investigation. That's very informative.
And sometimes we have like evidence or something like an appliance or something like that we don't have the equipment at the time, microscopes or whatever we might need to disassemble it and check that out. So often enough, we have to bring that appliance back to the lab for examination. So if we tell an adjuster that I got to bring this back, and they don't want us to, well, we have to. As the insurance company, I would imagine that y'all really own that piece of material or that property or that appliance until the investigation is over, as far as I'm thinking. So we may ask for that and we not be able to do it on site, but we certainly should at least get it for us to examine.
Yeah. I was thinking about how he went in to the mechanics to see where the knobs were and all. I mean, that's just something I would have never thought of even being able to do. Like, I would have thought maybe you would see where it was melted in place or something, but not having to take it apart and do it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So
one thing I want to kind of interject with, if you guys don't mind, is from the adjuster side of things, it's also important to take into consideration the amount of damage the smoke itself can cause. That smoke, not only to the immediate property that's again immediately visible, but also into the ductwork. All right, that smoke can get up into the vents, and if it's a relatable cause, that's something that an adjuster needs to take in consideration as far as estimating purposes.
Right. Yeah.
And while you're on that soot real quick, or the smoke, if you go into a home in some of those areas, you might find that there's just a little bit of fire damage on the range.
Exactly.
But you'll find that there's a lot of smoke damage.
Yep.
You'll also find that kids' toys and everything else, because they know that they can be cleaned. Those items can be cleaned. So what they're doing is they're actually getting their whole house painted on the inside and cleaned for free.
No.
Note to self. You make a great point, because when episode 1, we were burning different materials, and it was amazing how much smoke was being produced from just different sources. Dark smoke, white smoke, just all kinds of different colors. It's like, and I think one of the questions we asked then is, is it the fire, or is it the smoke that really causes a lot of the damage? And it's the smoke, and a lot of deaths are really caused from smoke. Even my dog agrees with me.
Good deal.
We go live.
That's right. All right, so let's jump into our IYOW segment, our In Your Own Words segment that we do every episode. It's something we look forward to, and today's question will be posed to Irvin. So before we get started, our In Your Own Words segment is brought to you by Blue Leopard Agency, a marketing agency that's redefining success in the digital age. Visit BlueLeopardAgency.com today to discover how they can tailor a marketing plan that's as unique as your brand. Don't wait. Take the first step toward marketing success right now. And they are actually nominated for NAPPY Awards for Lanyap here in Mobile, Alabama.
And
so if you're interested, vote for them. We all have.
Sorry, I will say I have personally worked with them on a conference, and I work with them regularly on different things that we do here, and I highly recommend them. I have enjoyed that very much.
Yep. So
maybe they can share their NAPPY link to vote for them in the chat box.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's
throw it out there.
Our folks in the background can do that for sure. Yeah, got you. All right. So our question, Irvin. Our question this week is: what is the safest way to put out a grease fire, or at least to prevent it from being so extreme? The one thing we know is don't just throw water on it, right? Because that makes it worse. But what's the safest way to stop it?
Ideally, the safe way would be to put the lid on the skillet.
Right.
Or the pot, whatever it might be, but it has to be the lid that belongs to that. Alternatively, if you don't have the lid, you can actually use a cookie sheet pan and do the same thing.
Yeah, so basically just like suffocate it. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. So that's essentially what you can do. And of course, if you have a fire extinguisher, you can certainly use that. So
should have one.
And then I've also heard of some, I guess, like Murphy would say, old wives' tale. You can throw salt on a grease fire, on
like
a fire,
baking soda.
or baking soda. Yeah. Is that something that people could do, or would you just stay going with the safest measures?
Yeah, thinking about it, the safest way obviously is putting the lid on it, or a cookie pan or something like that. But if it's on a skillet and it's not much oil in the pan, I would say the baking soda, the salt, you have to put a copious amount, so throw it all on it.
Right.
Otherwise, if it's a pot with 2 inches of oil in it, you don't want to do anything because you just better get out.
Right.
It's just too much.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Good.
Yeah, I've heard of flour and other things like that, but and to me, the safest way would be obviously the pan, I think, because that would be your first reaction. 'Cause a lot of the reaction, if like in the video, we sprayed water on the fire just took off.
Right.
That's when, and a lot of people do that. They see first reaction is, let me get this pot to the sink and get water on it.
Yep.
Then or let me get some water and pour on it, because most people, you put fire out with water.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you come into grease. Obviously, it causes the expansion of that grease, which causes the fire to get big, which is a no, which is bad.
Yeah.
So
I know when I cause fires in my oven at home, I'm just saying it happens, or even on the stove, not the big grease ones, but things happen. You forget. Salt works.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Salt works.
inside the oven it works.
And a little battered shrimp and some salt, and it's perfect.
I mean,
Make a meal out of it.
Yeah.
All right, good deal. So Q&A segment. We actually did have 2 questions that we had put in. Let me jump back over here, and I will read them. And Irvin, we will pose these to you. I'm sure we will also, be able to join in answering some of these. So first one, what are some common fire hazards within a household that people might overlook, that they don't consider that could be a fire hazard?
Oh, there could be many things. We can start with candles is one of the probably worst things to have, because that if you have it near your curtain or windowsill and you have curtains, it could actually catch fire. Another thing that's really big about those candles is that if you normally use candles and use candles for years and years, it releases soot. And probably after about 10 years, you look on it and you'll see the walls, like it's got soot on it. And you wonder why. Well, that can't come out because it's oily. So it'll take a lot of work. So candles would be one. You also have some of those plug-in items like the deodorizers, the oil ones. Some of them overheat. Excuse me. Some of them overheat, and they can cause a fire. Another major one is those power strips. We call them in the industry relocatable power taps, but it's just a power strip. It might be a lightning strip, or they have many names on it. They cannot be overloaded. A lot of times they'll fill them up, all 6 of the receptacles, but then some people put extension cords and put an extension cord on that cord, and they split it up, and you get too many things going through it, and that overheats it itself.
Yeah.
So that would be one major one. And finally, in that same area is the extension cord themselves. If you have it in a corner and you happen to have a chair there, and if you have carpet, you have the carpet, the pins, the carpet tacks, they can actually short out the conductors. And so that can start a fire.
Well, I just want to say I feel personally attacked because a lot of those things that you said, I have them going on in my home.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go home and do a couple.
She won't after today.
That's okay. I've got some salt. We'll be fine.
Okay.
Well, the candle, the candle, we're talking about the candle, the source of open flame around like a drape or something. But I've seen situations where the candle was in the middle of a room, and it just, the glass vessel that it's in, it's not fireproof. It's not fire resistant. Yeah. That thing could break. Candle melts out, catches something else on fire. Next thing you know, you have a fire right there. It could get down to a rug and cause the rug to catch on fire, and the whole place burns down.
Yeah.
And I mean, I tell my daughter every day, well, now she's off at college, but it was like, you can't leave candles burning. She's like, but it smells good. Yeah. Well,
Right.
That smoke's not gonna smell good.
Even the manufacture of the candles, if the wick is not right in the center, it could be off to one side. It will melt on that side, and then the wax will actually flow down, and then that could catch other stuff on fire because of the flow of it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, I don't know if anybody here does, but a lot of people put the candles in the freezer because they want it to last longer for some reason. So they put it in the freezer, get it frozen, and they take them out and they light them up. And so what happens on those in particular is actually the wax gets hot at certain areas and it actually cracks. It'll crack the candle in half or 2/3 or whatever it is, and then you would have to flame that gets out that way.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought about that.
Never heard of putting that candle in the freezer.
Won't do it now.
That's one thing.
I won't do it either, but interesting.
Good deal. All right.
There's no room in my freezer for it. So
there you go. All right. So our second question today, and we just talked about a couple of these, but I'm sure there's more. Are there specific safety measures that any homeowner policyholder could take and should take when using appliances, electrical strips, candles, other sources of open flames and things like that? I know one we talked about is like don't plug two power strips into each other, but what are some other things that maybe we didn't mention or points we want to hammer home?
Oh boy. Well, a lot of the things that we have issues with is recalls of certain devices, whether it's a heating element or we just have so many recalls on certain items. So you always go to the store and you always shopping. Well, you can stop and take a look at the recalled items, which is right next to the door, and they will give you an idea of what you may have issues with.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, you just have to watch. If you have dogs, dog might jump up on a range and set it off, turn it on. So yeah, there's many things that could happen, but yeah, that's just a few of them.
Yeah.
I need to go find my dog. I'll be back.
We heard him.
I have a question someone sent me. Are wax warmers something that are pretty, would you consider a hazard?
Oh, what's that?
Wax warmers. So they're kind of like the items that sit on a table and you put wax in them and they have a bulb. You plug them into the wall and it's just melting wax that smells good.
Oh, yeah.
So
no, a lot of times we do. They overheat a lot. They overheat because they're not manufactured properly, and they overheat because maybe the person turned the product itself a little bit to one side or the other. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are really notoriously bad.
Yeah. So when you're leaving your home for long periods of time, what are some, maybe if you're going on vacation, what are some ways to kind of proof your home while you're not there? Because
definitely, ideally, you can turn off your main breaker.
Okay.
It turns everything, as far as electrical, it turns everything off. Right. So that's pretty much it. Some people do, for insurance purposes, you turn your water off too, water meter. Okay. And that's pretty good. So you're covered there, so no flooding and no fire.
Okay. So I've always heard like lint in the lint trap of a dryer. Is that?
Oh yeah, you're done there. Oh yeah, that's another one. You have to actually make sure you clean that every single time you use the dryer, every single time. Because what happens is it just gets clogged up, and that prevents the fan from circulating the air. So the air actually just gets hotter and hotter in the compartment below the drum. Okay. So the drum, it has to be clear so that the hot air comes out into the drum. If it's clogged, it's going to take you a long time to get that dry. So if you notice that you're closing the dryer and it's taking a long time, it's probably blocked somewhere.
Right.
So you would probably check that. You should check in the back. You shouldn't use any of the flexible plastic connectors because that's horrible. That's really bad. They collect a lot of lint.
Yeah. Okay.
That's another good point there.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't believe we had any more questions come through the chat. Those were all good. I feel like we covered a lot today in part 2. Like I said, part 1 was great. Part 2 I thought was just as good, if not better. So Irvin, obviously we appreciate you being here and, being here in place of Mike. I was obviously here 2 weeks ago. We're super thankful to even have a second point of view and to have you here, somebody even different from the same company, still SDII, still same entity. So obviously, thank you to all the other people that put this together. Julie having it at her house, her mom, Mary for being on site, Aaron, who's not here today, Craig was on site, Tanner Williams, Volunteer Fire Department. Julie, you had something you wanted to say about them too, right?
Oh, yes. I know I said this last week, but really reach out to your local volunteer fire department or your local volunteer first responders, because these people, they have regular jobs, they work 40-hour shifts, and yet they'll get up in the middle of the night or whenever your house is on fire and come to you. So where I live, we have to depend on the volunteer fire department. We don't have access to the city fire department. So it is very important that you go and help them with whatever, or donate things. We learned this, that different, depending on where they are, they're only allowed to purchase certain things for the fire department. So waters and Gatorades and stuff, they may not be able to purchase for themselves or for their crew, but they can accept donations for that. So do reach out to them, because they took time off to come help me with this, and I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah,
and
they were great.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, was just really just go see if you can help them with anything, repairs on their building or landscape or cut the grass, whatever they need.
Yeah.
There at the fire department.
Yeah, and we actually just dropped a link to their Facebook page in the chat too, so people can visit that as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I know we mentioned that 2 weeks ago, but we really wanted to hammer that point home again. But again, thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you to Jeremiah for being on site, videoing, editing, putting all this together. Obviously, we couldn't do it without him and the rest of our folks, obviously from Blue Leopard, that help us along the way. If you want to get your CNC points for attending this broadcast, the link will be dropped in the chat. Don't just click on the link. You actually have to fill out the survey as well that goes with it to make sure those points go through. So, again, we just want to mention that again before we let everybody go. But, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for attending. We will see you again in 2 weeks for our next episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
What's the next episode?
It's a surprise.
It is a surprise.
Awesome. I love surprises.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It is a surprise.
Do I have to be there to get to know do I have to be there to know the episode?
Yes. On site.
Okay, so if you want to know what the next episode is, you just basically have to show up.
That's right.
Show up.
Yeah, we'll tease it.
I like
We'll
it.
be here.
I like it. And it's going to be a good one too, I believe.
Yeah.
They're all good. All exciting. We have some great experts that come on, give us their perspective, insight. They're always great. They're always fun.
Yep. All right. Good deal, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.